The Duke Blue Devils have been on a historically good run to this point, but here's what it's going to take to complete the championship dream.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, and shout out to the everydayers. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. He is Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery store or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. On this loaded episode, we're going to talk about rankings for 2025, combined success in the ACC between football and basketball. And I think this is extra important because brand initiative, success initiatives are going to be based on success in those two sports. In the meantime, though, we have the privilege of talking some Final Four here because, that's happening on Saturday, championship game on Monday. So we had to bring in the best in the business, Isaac Schade, host not only of Locked On Tar Heels, but Locked On College Basketball. He's been very busy with the bracket breakdown as well. This is your time of year to shine, Isaac. And so I'll get right into it here with you. What are your biggest keys for the Duke Blue Devils against a really good defensive Houston team on Saturday night?
That's such a good point, Donno. Houston is undersized compared to Duke, but man, they are scrappy and they're legit and they're disciplined. Here's where I got to start with keys for Duke. Literally, just don't overthink it. Dance with what got you here. That old adage, right? Because I really do feel like Duke is pretty matchup proof because they have so many weapons that can do so many different things. It doesn't matter if you try to bully them. They've got the girth to handle that. It doesn't matter if you try to out athlete them. They've got the athletes to do it. It doesn't matter if you outshoot them. They're great shoot. It's just that kind of thing. And so going into I think there can be a tendency to, when you go to a postseason moment like this and you get on a big stage and all the matchups are looked at more intimately and closely, and this could be a tripping point and that kind of thing, you tend to maybe outthink yourself and try to be smarter than you need to be. Look at what Duke has done all year long, man. And John Shire is a young coach. And that's where he needs the veteran coaching around him, where he needs Coach K in his ear, by the way, to say, look, John, just keep doing what you've been doing. That's more than enough to get you over the finish line. I think that's the first key I would go to. And then the other is just figure out whose night it is, right? We've seen so many different Blue Devils kind of go off in the quarterfinals of the ACC tournament when both Cooper Flagg and Malik Brown went down. Knipple went off for 28 points in that game. We've seen Tyrese Proctor just hit. It's like playing on a Nerf rim from like here and just going doink, right? That's how he's been shooting, over 60% from beyond the arc in this tournament. So tomorrow night, or on Saturday night against Houston, just figure out whose night is it and lean into that. Houston then is going to respond to that, shut it off. And then, all right, whose turn now? Let's go play ball and just make it happen.
You talk about whose night it is and who gets hot and all that good stuff. But one thing about Houston, they have consistently shot the three so well this year that, 40% for one player over a year. We're like, oh, God, that guy's doing great. That's what their entire team is shooting as a collective. Right. So in terms of stopping what Houston does in the three-point, because they can get it off the transition, they can get it out of their half-court sets, what does Duke have to do to run them off the three-point line?
The good news, Kenton, is that you're right. It's insane what Houston is doing from beyond the arc. The thing is, they don't take a ton. They're second in the nation in 3-point percentage, but they're like, I'm not going to get this spot on, but I think it's like 273rd in attempts per game. So Houston kind of takes care of that by themselves. Does that make sense? Like Duke doesn't really have to do much to run them off the line because they run themselves off the line. I was looking at the per game, the game logs the other day. Literally one game this season has Houston taken more than 30 attempts. Literally one game this season has Houston made more than 15 threes. And so I think that's already putting Duke in a good position, because to me, if Houston wants to win this game, they're going to have to bomb away a little bit. But we just saw what Duke did to shut down Alabama's potent 3-point attack the other night, right? Holding them from 51 attempts against BYU to 31 attempts in that game against Duke. So Duke can shut that off. So then my brain naturally then goes to, okay, so maybe we need to go shoot from 2 if we're Houston, since we don't take a ton of threes. Well, here's the problem. Houston ain't great on 2-point percentage, and Duke is second in the nation in 2-point defense. So it's just like anywhere Houston turns, Duke's already got that walled off and cornered and ready for you, you know? And so like if I'm Duke, it's like maybe they're going to try to take more threes. I don't know. But the season long averages and numbers don't math for Houston.
Well, you've given us a lot of reasons why Duke is likely to win this matchup, and I know that's the way Kenton and I are both going. It sounds like you are as well. But what would a Houston Cougars win look like? What has to happen statistically, and who has to step up to pull off that upset?
2 things in my mind. One is what we just said. I think if they bomb away from 3 a little bit more than they would have done typically this season, that could be a one-off way to do it. The problem is, I just talked about it with Duke, you don't want to really veer from what's made you successful all season long. Houston's been a phenomenal basketball team. If I'm remembering somebody's resume, I'm pretty sure it's theirs. They've lost 4 times all season long, 3 of them in overtime. I mean, that's absurd. The other thing for Houston that I think they could rely on is their experience. Guys, we talked about this earlier on the ACC squad this week, that Duke does have a lot of experience around their young freshmen, but Houston's got it in spades, and there aren't really any freshmen that they rely on. So could Houston use their grown man girth strength that Kenton has, that Alex, you and I don't have, Donno, right? To kind of move Duke around a little bit and upset them, right? Like get up into their jelly a little bit and see if Duke's ready for that, or if will Cooper Flag crumble to any of that? Would Con Knipple stand up to that? I think they would, but you got to test it, right? If you're Kelvin Sampson's thing, you got to go at it a little bit and see what could happen there. I loved earlier this week, I was talking to our great Locked On Houston host, Parker Ainsworth. He was saying he expects them to run a lot of doubles at the guards to see if the guards can get messed up a little bit and get hurried up, and maybe Houston could have something there. So that's maybe a couple different ways that Houston could attack this.
So in terms of, you've talked about what happens if Houston wins, and we've talked about how Houston will attack Duke. Let me ask you this. Is the world where Duke wins this game, or the many worlds where Duke wins this game, however you feel about it, what happens there? What is the game plan? What happens where you're like, Duke won this game because of this? Yeah.
The nice thing for Duke, Kenton, is I feel like it's kind of choose your own adventure story, right? Like I think there's a whole bunch of different paths for that to happen. One of them is that Cooper Flag could go off for 30 like he did a couple games ago, mix in, I don't know, 8 to 10 boards, 5 assists, and a couple blocks. Like that's a pretty walk in the park game for Cooper Flag. But the thing about Duke is he doesn't have to. He could have like 10, 15, and 5 and still do it, because Con Knipple has a game. They could say, you know what? Houston's bigs are 6'8", 6'8", and we got a guy in there named Kaman Malawach who's 7'2". Let's just dump it into him all night, because that 2-man game between Knipple and Malawach has been devastating for opponents. Proctor could keep going off. You could see Isaiah, like how often do we see an X Factor guy have a game? And that's what does it. Duke's last championship in 2015, in the national championship game, Grayson Allen, was just playing a bit role. He was Duke's second leading scorer in that win. Could Isaiah Evans be that on Saturday night or even Monday night? So Kenton, to answer your question, I feel like I could take option A, B, C, D, E, double Q, however far the Excel sheet needs to go, and we still see a Duke victory here.
Now, Isaac, I know as host of Locked On College Basketball, you've been imagining the possible championship matchups in your mind from Monday night. Which 2 teams head-to-head Monday evening would appeal to you most?
There's like the personal side of college basketball we cheer for, and there's the professional side. The professional Locked On College Basketball side of me always cheers for my bracket. My bracket has Duke and Auburn, with Auburn winning. And you know what? I was just telling somebody else this earlier today. The more my bracket wins, the fewer people I have coming at me in my mentions, because, people listen to our college basketball show and they're like, Well, Schade, you told me this and it was dead wrong. So thanks a lot. You cost me my bracket or my money or my dinner bet or whatever it was. So I'm just out here cheering for my bracket. I want to see Auburn and Duke.
Okay. I like it. I like it. Well, this man does a tremendous job, and hopefully you guys have been already checking out Locked On College Basketball. If you haven't been, it's not too late to cram before Saturday night and Monday night. He is Isaac Schade. You follow him on X at Isaac Schade. Thank you so much for taking the time, sir.
My pleasure, guys. Hey, let's go get an ACC championship. What do you say? Take that, SEC.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's do it.
Come on,
Let's
Jackson
do
Holzer.
it.
Jackson, come on. What is he doing out here? I can't.
And
I
this
can't.
is a
KG.
UNC fan. This is a UNC
Yeah.
fan here
Yeah.
saying, hey, let's
Thank
get
you.
it done, Duke. You know, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
Appreciate it,
I
fellas.
told my grocery clerk, who's a big Alabama Crimson Tide fan. You know, I told Kenton about this the other day. You know, she's rooting for Florida and Auburn, or Florida or Auburn. It's like, you're a Bama fan. She's rooting for, if Auburn gets the championship, she's rooting for Auburn. So I can root for Duke. If she's going to put SEC over Crimson Tide, I can put ACC over however we feel about Duke basketball historically. Now, speaking of Duke basketball, you would not believe how much their success on the hardwood, even before cementing a possible championship, has elevated their combined football and basketball success. We've got the full rankings, 1 through 17 in the ACC. Whose programs embarrass them most? Whose programs pick them up the most? You want to keep it locked right here. Alex Donno and Kenton Gibbs with you on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day, you're watching your kids take their first steps, and then before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance online right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes, and in many cases, no health exam is required. As a parent, I want to make sure my family is financially protected no matter what happens. Fabric gives me that peace of mind. Fabric also offers free digital wills and access to investment accounts to help you plan for your children's future. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. My friends, we're also proudly brought to you by Prize Picks. I mean, there's so much action going on in basketball, and baseball season is in full swing now. There is no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. Guys, I've been playing Prize Picks since 2021. I'm a lifer with this thing. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 players' projections. And if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs. Prize Picks keeps every game exciting. This week, we're picking Aaron Judge for more than 1 home run and Shohei Ohtani for more than 1 stolen base. It's that easy. Guys, starting a lineup takes less than 60 seconds, and when you win, your payout is quick, safe, and secure. I always take advantage of Taco Tuesday, a great promotion where Prize Picks offers discounts on select player projections for even more value. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Locked On College for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Thank you so much for making Locked On ACC your first listen and your first watch today. For your next listen, check out Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone on Locked On Wolfpack, talking all things NC State. Check me out on Locked On Canes, talking all things Miami Hurricanes. All right, so Kenton, I have in front of me, according to College Football News, they aggregate out the winning percentages and success of both football and basketball for every ACC team 2024 football season, 2024-2025 basketball season. Do you want to venture a guess as to, out of 17 full-time ACC members, who was the least successful combined in the revenue sports?
Who I would say least successful combined. I want to say Boston College? Would it be Boston College?
Oh, you know what? They hold it real quick. It's not Boston College, though. Actually, that's
Florida
a good
State.
guess. It's not Boston College. Florida State is actually 17th out of 18. I guess they let Notre Dame into the list. I was like, wait, there's 18 in there.
Oh, so it was Florida State. Okay.
It was. Well, Florida State is, well, they do have Virginia ranked worse than Florida State, but Florida State is right there near the bottom at number 17. So they've got 18 ranked. They've got Virginia ranked number 18, which is obviously not a good sign when it comes to, the success initiatives and brand initiatives. They write about Virginia at number 18. Tony Bennett leaves. The football team couldn't catch any semblance of a break, and it was a losing season in both sports. And, funny thing about that was their football team started off all right. Like there were points where Virginia looked like, obviously UVA football is capable of losing to anyone, but they also looked like they were capable of beating anyone a couple times last year.
Absolutely. And I have said this before, and I will say this again now. I might have joked all the Tonys out of existence. I remember joking about, UVA has exceeded their Tony quota. They had Tony Bennett, Tony Elliott, Tony Musket, Tony Calandria. I was, you got too many Tonys. Of all those Tonys, the only one left, I believe, is Elliott. I'm pretty sure Musket aged out, Calandria hopped in the portal, and Bennett quit, or retired rather. So yeah, they're boy, it's a very tough time in Charlottesville right now, and I'm not all too shocked to see them at the bottom because again, that's a traditional basketball powerhouse that was god awful. We knew that they were going to be god awful in football. Nobody was surprised by them being awful at football. Yeah. So
actually, I thought they'd be even worse than they were.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody looked up and was like, "Oh man, Virginia football is bad." I can't believe it. Color me shocked.
Yeah, Virginia, they went 5-7 in football, and it came down to the wire. They were almost bowl eligible, which is something for UVA. 15 and 17 in basketball, 8 and 12 in the ACC. You weren't far off with Florida State, by the way. They write about Florida State at number 17. It would have been nice if Leonard Hamilton could have gone out with a whopper of a final season. As for the football team, woof. Yeah, their basketball record was respectable, KG. I mean, 17 and 15 overall, 8 and 12 in the ACC. Nothing to write home about, but average, right? But their football record, 2 and 10. Now, everyone seems to be expecting big improvements. Well, at least hopefully an improvement for their sake in basketball, but a big improvement in football because you notice, Kenton, 2 wins last year in football. Las Vegas has them pegged over under 7.5 for this year in football. So I can't tell you for sure if that's happening because Mike Norvell has his practices completely locked down. Nobody knows what's going on in that football facility outside of a few speeches from Gus Malzahn that have been sent out by the athletic department. But Florida State is expected, I would think, to make a big jump in that combined football basketball ranking next year.
Who is this everyone you speak of who expects them to make a jump? Because I am not a part of that contention. Okay. I don't believe they'll be exponentially better than they were last year. I think 7 is a little bit of a stretch, but I do think they'll be better at football than they were last year. Basketball, that's a whole nother story. I mean, we can all sit here and pretend like, Ham might have been holding him back and he might have been too beholden to the old school. I'm not sure. I really and truly am not sure that, hey, whoever they hire next is going to be the guy to get that thing turned around. Because, again, we got some heavy hitters coming into the ACC in terms of these new coaches.
All right, let me cherry pick a few more of these because I don't know if people want the full breakdowns on Stanford at number 16. They did get in to the NIT, but their 3-9 football season hurt them greatly. Wake Forest at number 15. What about this one, Kenton? Number 14, NC State Wolfpack. They write, number 1 last year in the ACC was a horrible season in both sports. The football team should have been a player, and the basketball team didn't even make the conference tournament. So I guess last year at this time, they had NC State ranked number 1 for the combined. They dropped from 1 to 14.
Donno, we didn't have to talk about this. We didn't have to talk about this today.
I should have cherry-picked around that one, right?
Exactly. Cherry-picked right around it. No, but in all seriousness, it was a disappointing season on both the hardwood and on the field for the Pack. You had your starting quarterback get injured. You had all these things happen in terms of basketball where, you talk about not catching a semblance of a break. The Wolfpack truly resembled that this year, and you get what you get.
So, all right, continuing on before we get into the top 5, Cal at number 13. This is, by the way, combined success in football and basketball for 2024, 2025. Virginia Tech at number 12. Boston College at number 11, also higher than I would have thought, Kenton. I guess the being 7-6 in football helped them out because their basketball team was not very good this year. Miami comes in at number 10, which, listen, honestly, with the season Miami basketball just had, I'm not going to argue it. I'm not going to argue being in the bottom half because Miami's basketball team was unwatchable this past year, dead last in the ACC. The football team underachieved a little bit based on the way they started, but still 10-3 record in football. But Miami's basketball record was 7-24 overall and 3-17 in the ACC. And at least I give Miami's administration credit. They're being aggressive, hiring Jay Lucas away from Duke. They've landed 3-4 guys in the transfer portal over the last couple of days, some capable starters. So they understand they need to pick it up on the basketball side. Hopefully they pick it up on the baseball side at sometimes. Miami's baseball team is terrible, but Kenton, I'm not going to argue with number 10 for Miami.
Oh, absolutely not. But as bad as their basketball team was, I mean, one of the most damning things about Miami's basketball team, going into the last game of the season, I was hearing Kevin Keith's job was safe. They lost to Miami. And immediately the day following, he was fired.
You're welcome. Now you got Will Wade, thanks to me.
Thank you all. Thank you, the Fighting Alex Donnos down there in Coral Gables. We appreciate you thoroughly.
All right, so hold on. And number 9, the Syracuse Orange, and they write, Syracuse is a football school now? Yeah, I mean, they went 10-3 in football, below 500 in basketball, 14-19. The Pitt Panthers at number 8, they had some side. They faded, though. It's funny with Pitt, Kenton, they faded in both sports. They got off to a 7-0 start in football, and they went 7-6, and their basketball team had a really hot start. But they come in well inside that top 10.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised by this one at all. I mean, everybody calls Pitt my team now as if I'm a Pitt alum or something like that because I believed in those boys. But in all seriousness, both teams got off to a hot enough start where it made sense that they were going to be in the upper half of the conference here.
Yeah, well, let's go through the top 7 when we come back. And if you think you know who's number 1, probably wrong. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On ACC. I got a pep in my step today, and I'm going to need it throughout the weekend with all this great basketball from 5 Hour Energy. Yeah, daylight savings snuck up on us again a few weeks back. If you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes means you need to get a little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late to watch the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf after work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. We've been staying up late watching the tournament. 5 Hour Energy helps me keep up the next day. Guys, whether I'm at a game or traveling, 5 Hour Energy is easy to grab and keeps me feeling refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, peach mango, which is my new favorite. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Or if you need one right now, grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They are everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized with 5 Hour Energy.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Thank you for making us on Locked On ACC your first listen. All right, so getting into that top 7, Kenton, and this is going to loom large for the success initiatives and brand initiatives, the extra payouts that ACC schools are going to be getting. At number 7, Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, which is that's respectable. I mean, that honestly, extremely respectable for them. 17-17 in hoops, 10-10 in ACC play. So they were right down the middle in basketball, 500. The football team, 7-6, 4th in the ACC last year. So they were respectable in both sports, right? SMU comes in at number 6, which I think is the best story in this list. Their basketball team fell just short of the NCAA tournament, but they got close. They were in the hunt for most of the season. And talk about punching above your weight. Like their football team somehow got into the ACC championship game and got into the college football playoff. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find I don't know if there's ever been a better first year in a Power Four conference than what SMU has just had.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, SMU balled out on the field, and I'll tell you what, it's not really surprising to see them get adjusted on the court, because if you go back to their time under Larry Brown, which was a little bit ago, but still it wasn't that long ago, they were a really good team then. And then, of course, you had some sanctions and all that come after that, where you're expecting them to take a serious fall off. But to say you're 500 in your first year at ACC, I think most SMU fans would take that.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so into the top 5 now. North Carolina Tar Heels, 23-14. You know, they did have obviously not a strong NCAA tournament, but they had a overall strong enough basketball season to get in. They went 4th in the ACC at 13-7. Conference record 23-14 overall in football. This is what I thought the football would hurt them a little bit more, Kenton, going 6-7 in the ACC. I'm a little surprised that that the percentages play out so well for UNC to be in the top 5.
Well, I mean, this was a down year for the ACC in football as well as basketball. So being 6-7 in this conference, it didn't relegate you to like, you're at the bottom half of the conference because of that. Because, I mean, really, how many teams were far above 500 in terms of football this year? Not many.
No, absolutely not. So number 4, they've got Louisville, which is well-deserved, because you talk about having a really good season in both sports. I mean, it didn't quite like get to the ACC championship level in football, but we're darn close, including a win over Clemson. They went 9 on the road, I might add. They went 9-4 in football, finished 4th in the ACC, 27-8 overall in basketball, 18-2 in the ACC, a team that I thought should have done certainly better in the NCAA tournament than their first round exit, but a job well done by Louisville's athletic department. And they're not slowing down, Kenton, because I think their football team's going to be really good again next year as well, with Miller Moss and the type of talent that Jeff Brom's been bringing in there.
Absolutely. Brom and Kelly, or Kelsey rather, Brom and Kelsey are studs.
Yeah.
They are both up-and-coming stars in their respective sports. And I would be shocked if Louisville is not constantly perched atop this list going forward.
Now at number 3, I'm just going to disregard Notre Dame, because I don't feel like they should do this. They're not a football member. Screw them.
Y'all not. No, we can't really include it in here.
Yeah, they got Notre Dame at number 3, but it's like, I mean, come on, full members of the conference only. Okay. Now number 2. I actually, if I was going to do my own math, and you know how bad I am with numbers, I probably would have come up with, I would have had my number 1 and number 2 flip-flopped, because just based on the combined success, I would have thought Clemson would probably be the slight number 1. But Clemson comes in at number 2, 10-4 in football. They won the ACC championship. They did get bounced in the college football playoff, but a tremendous football season for Dabo, double-digit wins. And they had a tremendous basketball season as well. They were 2nd in the ACC in basketball, 27-7 overall, but it wasn't quite enough to dethrone the Duke Blue Devils, who had it. And listen, Kenton, we'll talk about both of them, Clemson and Duke. I don't want to, I said my math probably would have put Clemson ahead, but let's not forget, Duke had a very good football season as well, 9-4 record this year, 5-3 in the ACC. Not the toughest of ACC schedules, but Duke was good in football this year, and then obviously in basketball. And if they do win 2 more games in the NCAA tournament, they're going to be number 1 with a bullet by the time that's done.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, you think about what Duke did, or let's start with Clemson. You think about what Clemson did this year. They are the cream of the crop in terms of football. They're not a regional brand. They're not an ACC brand. They're a national brand. That is just what Clemson is at this point. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No debating it. No faking the funk there in terms of what UCLA is. I mean, why do I keep saying the wrong name? In terms of what Clemson is, there's no faking the funk. Yeah. But when you think about Duke, Duke had a shockingly good year 1 under Manny. When you look at all of the exits they had in the transfer portal and how those guys went on to impact their different teams, some within the conference. I'm looking at you, Aeneas Peoples, over at Virginia Tech, becoming an all-conference player. And yet, and still, they were able to win 9 games. I don't care how soft you think the schedule is. They showed you can only play who's in front of you. And Duke did that at a very high clip in football, whooping the wheels off folks. And they did the same thing in basketball, absolutely dominating. So Duke being the top of this list is not surprising. And when you said it was a surprise who's going to be a number 1, I'm like, is he surprised that Duke is one? Because
I was a little surprised.
I thought it had to be them because basketball, they've lost 4 games all season?
Yeah.
And I don't think any other basketball team has lost less than 5 or 6. And then you look at football.
Well, 3, they only lost 3 games, actually, 35-3.
35.
Wow.
Come on, man. Come on. We knew when you could buy those too. You know what I mean? The math got to math.
That's true. And listen, I wonder, we brought this up before. I wonder if the type of success that they're having, we'll see what happens on Saturday and Monday. I think they're about to win another natty in basketball. And if the football team keeps, creeping around double-digit wins, I wonder if Duke is going to become more attractive for conference realignment. Like you never really hear people talking about Duke. Like Florida State and Clemson, obviously, UNC gets brought up, Miami gets brought up sometimes. Duke never gets brought up. So maybe they'll change their fortunes there. Well, we appreciate everyone for helping us have another great week on Locked On ACC. And the next time we talk with you, we'll be so deep in whatever happens in this tournament coming up this weekend. He's Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes, and we'll talk to you again on another episode of Locked On ACC. We are part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.